worldies, and welcome back to my naughty little channel. So today we're doing a Cheyenne Bryant breakdown analysis part 2, but today I don't really want to talk about her credentials. If you watched my last video, I talked about her previously, maybe a month ago or some weeks ago. Last thing I knew of the saga, give you a quick catch up if you haven't seen what all has going on. She is this woman who is exceptionally beautiful. She's very well spoken. She's very well dressed, and she apparently has already been on reality TV shows, but many people, I think, found out about her, and I think she experienced going viral when she was a guest on Cam Newton's podcast. Maybe it was last year, and then she also had one with Shannon Sharp as well. I know I've seen her on daytime television as well now, where she was kind of giving some sort of psychological breakdowns of relationships. She was talking a lot about her position being a woman at an advanced age, because she is in her 40s, who has never married and has never had children. And she speaks just very, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, if you've ever watched her, she just has this presence that is so commanding, and she is so very sure of herself. And I kind of want to talk about the psychology of how people react to her and the latest developments of the situation. So if you don't know, she was talking to Cam Newton about his past/present with his dating habits with women. And something that I think was very interesting was, in more male-centered parts of the internet, or more red-pilled male-centered thinking, people will say that, Cam Newton, from what I understand, he's got the first mother of his children who he had 5 kids with, and then I believe that there is somebody else that he's had children with, and then there is now, I can't think of her last name, but Jazzy, she is like a comedian personality. I don't know why I can't think of what people would know her by. Is it just Jazzy? Is that what is it like It's Jazz or something? I should have looked that up before recording, but I'll post a video of her on, or put a picture if you don't know who I'm talking about or whatever, or if you can't tell from the pieces I'm putting together. But I think whatever. She has had, I believe, 1 child with him, and from what I understand, they cohabitate and they're not married, but she does, play an active role in his other children's lives. And she was speaking about his pattern of that, the way that he has chosen to act in relationships. And I found that she put a lot of the focus for those outcomes on him and his actions and his choices. And she did not play into the narrative that I think more male-centered people will, that, okay, you had 5 kids with this girl and then you moved on because she wasn't good enough. There was a flaw in her. The woman that you're with now, you guys have had a kid and you haven't married her yet because she needs to prove to you that you're a wife, that she's a wife, and she's supposed to wait for you to decide to propose and everything. I think is largely how we speak about these things, and we place men in the power position in a situation without also putting them in the accountability seat. And she was just discussing her own parents, her own background, what she has seen, her own relationship history. And a lot of her, from what I've seen of her content, a lot of it has been her speaking on high versus low levels of functioning. Her speaking about somebody like Cam Newton, who obviously has been able to have an athletic career, and now he's still an internet personality, having a podcast talking about pop culture and everything. He's got all this money, he's been very active. He's been doing a lot of things, but has he been doing things from a level of, high functioning, which she typically would, I would say define, from what I gather, as beneficial, fruitful, healthy, versus low functioning being like toxic, unhealthy, not a proper way of functioning, not an admirable way of functioning, something that needs to be fixed, something that needs to be corrected, basically. And with her being as beautiful as she is, and I think also how she speaks so openly about her, about the things that people would feel like she should be embarrassed about. Like, for example, that she was born to parents who were very young. I know one of her parents was selling illegal substances, and I believe, if I remember correctly, her other parent was addicted to using that substance that the other parent sold. I'm assuming it was the dad selling and the mom addicted, I believe. But many people, when they see a woman like that, they would like to feel justified in taking out their frustrations, their jealousy, their insecurities, their big feelings that they don't know how to deal with against them. A lot of people don't feel so bad. Every girl has, I think every pretty woman has some form of pretty girl PTSD from things that you've gone through with women, with men, regardless, across the board. And many people, when they mistreat you and they see your beauty, they're justifying it in their mind in the sense of, they will give you these assumptions that you haven't faced any adversity, that your life is so peaceful, so easy, that, it almost is this idea of how we socialize young men, this idea of needing to toughen up. I think many people will use our femininity against us in the sense of, you haven't never gotten your hands dirty, you're oblivious, you're naive. People may even call you princess in the sense of live in reality princess, basically you're trying to live in a fairy tale. You're not thinking logically. You're not intelligent. You don't understand the real world. You don't understand real pain. You don't understand how hard some people have it. They see your beauty and they want to immediately assume those things are true about you, because that makes them feel not so bad when they are aggressive towards you, when they exclude you, when they assault you, when they harm you, when they bully you, whatever. It's very hard for many people to hold the belief that they are not that good of a person. And so many people, they will try to think that they're doing you a favor. If they can believe in their mind that you haven't faced any adversity, that you haven't gone through anything, that everything in your life is just cupcakes and rainbows, then they can convince themselves that them hating on you, them trying to sabotage you, them trying to harm you, hurt you, or whatever, is just bringing you into the real world, bringing you into what, doing real work is like, or bringing you into what having an adult relationship is like, bringing you into what real friendship is like. Any of these things where these stereotypes of you being childish, naive, not understanding, adult things, they oftentimes will say kind of this grow up princess or something in the same tone of, toughen up, men, or stop being a wuss or something, grow up, basically. And when people see a woman like Cheyenne Bryant, who actually has gone through the things, it's conflicting in their brain. They're like, wait, so if she is exceptionally beautiful, benefits from privilege, all these different things, but is not out of touch, or maybe has still faced some adversity, or wow, maybe in her short life, her 41 years, maybe she's actually gone through more than I have gone through. As somebody who has an inferiority complex to this type of person. So, oh, well, if you're the type of person where it's like, oh, you are a unambiguous, bitter, obese Black woman, you may see somebody like Cheyenne Bryant and immediately feel some type of way about her. I also find that a lot of men get triggered by her as well, because many men have this kind of sick entitlement, and this is where things like the PDF files and the Epstein files and stuff, like where that comes from. It is this sense of entitlement. Many people came out with critiques about, like, Jeffrey Epstein and all of those people and stuff like that. Like, oh, why would you even have to be harming children and whatnot, because you have all this money in the world. So there is no reason that you even had to do that. You could have any girl you want. That's why that girl who Usher pulled on stage, that's why people are tearing her apart, because of this sick idea that we have that men, it gets instilled into them that you get to have power. They're not very much taught, like, oh, you could be a really great partner, you can live a really awesome life, and you can attract somebody who really enjoys you and live an amazing life together. They're more so taught that if you work really, really hard and you get resources under patriarchy, you're going to have power, you're going to have more resources than a woman, and so you will have more status, you will have this entitlement, you can get her, you can get any woman that you want. People have that idea, and they feel this way about rappers, about maybe politicians, about whoever. And there's this idea that, well, you don't have to, grape the women. You don't have to go after minors or whatever, because, you are so powerful. You can have any woman that you want. But that's actually not how consent works. That's not how, like, bodily autonomy works. Like, I saw people with a woman, who is being bashed for not making out with Usher in front of a million people. Like, oh, she said she wanted Chris Brown instead. Okay, you don't know that. That doesn't mean that she wanted to sleep with Chris Brown. That could mean that if she had to choose between Usher and Chris Brown to be on stage and have some visibility and have this moment and, really be an active participant in the show, that she would prefer Chris Brown. Maybe she prefers him as a performer, whatever that is. That doesn't mean that she was saying, yeah, and if it was Chris Brown, then I would have, he's got all this money and I'm in front of all these people, so I can't say no to anything. I can't put any boundaries up. If he wants to take his pickle out and slap it on my face, that's fine, because he's Chris Brown and he pulled me on stage. And so a lot of people got angry at that woman, and they're trying to talk down on her intelligence, talk down on her attractiveness, all of these things, and basically say, how dare you understand that you're allowed to have autonomy over your body and you're allowed to not consent even when it's Usher. So for a lot of men who feel triggered against Cheyenne Bryant in the first place, psychologically, they see this woman who seems to be aware when she talks about her type, or I don't know if she's spoken specifically about her type, but she has spoken a lot about what a healthy relationship looks like to her, emotional needs, communication needs. She has spoken about how, she is basically not the type of woman who's going to be like, oh, you have some money, you can treat me however you want, drag me through the mud forever because I'm 41 and I don't have kids yet. And well, at least you have some money. Like, she's more so in the chooser's position. And many men have an issue with that because that removes power from them. They would like women to believe that they are like waiting to be chosen as opposed to Cheyenne. She's very much kind of internally focused and centered, and she presents that way. But people were saying that there are these two men who I don't really know much about at all. It's a Dr. Jamal Bryant, and then this other guy, I think it's Touré Roberts, maybe Touré Roberts. But I know that the guy Touré, I've seen him more often. Like, I think he's some sort of like male exotical, but looking at him, you can kind of see that, or I could tell from just looking at him briefly, he does seem like a more Blackistani type of male exotical, in the sense of like he looks like he's like kind of light skinned or something, but he's got the kind of like earthy looking bracelets on and everything, and apparently he's been like covering Cheyenne Bryant very frequently. And this is how some people psychologically in the Black community will react to people who may even have a similar phenotype to them. Like, this will happen. Like, this is where light-skinned saviorism comes from. It's the sense of many people who have been bullied by the unambiguous community into being their mammy or their slave, or like caping for them. And the way they do it is they become this henchman, because a lot of unambiguous people will weaponize mixed biracial people's ancestry, Black people with admixture, their ethnic background against them, and say basically, there's this idea that because we are both Black, you must, we must always have the same interests, even if we are not in the same class, even if we disagree with each other on something, even if we have different values. And historically, that has been a thing that has been pushed in the Black community, this idea that, biracial people are, they're untrustworthy because you never know which side they're going to side with. And it is a very, we have this very linear, linear is not really the word. I would say like kind of binary idea of what acting Black is, what acting white is, what are white things, what are Black things. And so even what are Black values, what are Black beliefs. I saw this video, or it's one of my recent videos. It was a TikTok. I didn't put the whole thing in, but there was actually this woman who was literally associating whiteness with, what did she say, morals or standards, or maybe I'll make a whole separate video on that, because I think I still have the clip. But it was very interesting. A lot of Black people have this internalized anti-Blackness, where they even believe that white people are more moral, they're more valuable, all of these things by default. And they will critique people who have connections to other communities for being a free thinker or for being an individual thinker. And it's very interesting because these same people will always say that the Black community is not a monolith. But it's almost like when they see somebody whose, phenotype represents mixed ancestry, or just this idea of, Black people are not a monolith. So if you're Black and having this experience where, you feel like everybody's responding to you in society a certain type of way, you feel like you're at the bottom of society, Blackness is not a monolith. That does not mean that everybody else feels that way. That does not mean that, just because you happen to be Black and having experiences does not mean that those experiences automatically come with all Blackness. It doesn't mean that somebody is, not real or not used to the world enough if they haven't gone through those experiences. And many people over attribute things to race that are really about class. So a lot of what people are pushing out about, accusing everybody else of anti-Blackness, accusing everybody else of colorism and racism and whatnot, is not actually that. But when it comes to these two men who are, covering Cheyenne Bryant so consistently, what the most recent development has been is that apparently there's some unambiguous dark-skinned Black male who has, what they're saying, what these two, these other two men are saying, the Jamal Bryant guy and the Torrey Roberts, they're saying, oh, this unambiguous guy basically opened up opened up an entire university with the express purpose of giving her a degree. So their accusation now, the latest development that I have seen, I think I missed some chapters because last thing I saw was, there was situations where her transcript she couldn't get, or something about her old university didn't exist anymore or something. If anything else has happened in between that and this, I don't really know, like if people like found out that for sure she was lying about something. I actually still don't know that that's the case. So link a video if there's anything you want to show me to bring me fully up to speed. But I'm more so wanting to talk about this latest development that they're saying, that the university has only been in existence for like maybe, what did they say? It's July. Like, what did they say? Like 2 months? Unless this is stuff that they're saying happened in 2025. But whatever it is, the university has been open for less than 2 years. It has, at the time of the interview, only awarded 1 doctorate degree, and that has been to Cheyenne Bryant. And they were speculating in these videos that I was watching about whether Cheyenne Bryant had been the one to initiate this, basically saying, hey, I need help. Can you open up a university and give me a degree? But they seem to have concluded that that was not the case. They seem to have concluded that she did not, say anything from what the president of the university was saying himself in the interview. They were saying that, they don't even know each other, that he created the university, and that, he was saying things like, our sister, he was calling Cheyenne Bryant like his sister. I saw our sister in need and nobody stepped up to the plate to give her a degree. And so, basically saying he saw something that needed to get done and he got it done. And, the other men were basically trying to critique him and basically say why would you do this? And it's funny because this situation is just so unheard of. It's so kind of outlandish from beginning to end. And I'm still somebody who thinks Cheyenne Bryant is so beautiful. She commands so much presence and attention and whatnot. I don't know all of the facts of the situation, but I will say this newest development kind of proves some of my points about her from my last breakdown, where I was saying the only reason I think that people care so much about her in the first place is because of her pretty privilege. And that just goes to show that, all of these things, her pretty privilege is so powerful. Her personality privilege is so powerful. Her pedestal is so high in the sky that some random, I think somebody else was saying that he's a rapper, the president of this university, which I wouldn't put that past it. So this random unambiguous black male was sitting in his house, in his home, in his cardboard box, wherever he lives. And he saw this baddie on his screen. It was like, it's time for me to create a whole university for her. And a lot of people are threatened by that type of power. It is so insane to see this. It's so comical. The whole thing is almost funny because that's kind of what I think a lot of the exotical content is kind of about, in the sense of it's women like Cheyenne Bryant who very obviously, would get thrown in and out of blackness. They have this pretty privilege. They have, social climbed in so many different ways. And she is somebody who, you can't tell somebody that, you can't bully somebody for having good hair. You can't bully somebody and call them, mean names that have to do with their skin tone, their lighter skin tone. You can't sit there and, say mean things about people's features, or try to use any sort of light skin or feminine stereotypes against them. And then over time, convince them that they don't stick out, that they aren't unique, that they aren't, very beautiful or very, exotic to you, that they are different from you, that they have these gifts, these abilities, or just this beauty that is uncommon, that is unique. And with, with Cheyenne Bryant, people are just willing to go to these very far lengths, like extraordinary lengths, to defend or validate certain individuals, even when it could invite criticism to their own self, like this man who opened the university. And I just find the psychology of this so fascinating to break down. There could, while I don't know his exact motivations, I can't just say he said that, oh, he saw a light-skinned baddie on his screen and that's what made him do it. No, I don't want to talk about that in particular. I want to talk about other hypotheses that I have as far as what could be going on that could make a woman like Cheyenne Bryant basically inspire this random stranger to go to these extraordinary lengths for her. So I would say, one, some people I think internally do just carry a rescuer instinct. Some people may call it a God complex as well. But some people are just strongly motivated to protect someone that they perceive as gifted, as misunderstood, as being unfairly attacked or in need of support. And I do think that Dr. Cheyenne, and I've spoken about this before in my video. I think I was comparing like colorism, the psychology of colorism against light skin versus dark skinned people. I cannot talk today, but in that video, I was talking about how light-skinned colorism, like how light-skinned men as well as light-skinned women often face colorism in a negative way, is they usually are having negative stereotypes associated with femininity placed on them. So, she's prissy, she's naive, she's not aware of the real world, she's not a hard worker. In the Black community, they use terms like being high acidity, being somebody who is like being reserved is typically a trait associated with women, I would say, more than being associated with men, or I would say even if it's not men and women, but the feminine energy, the waiting for things to come to you, waiting for things to happen or whatever, waiting to be rescued, versus being masculine is more so about going out, perceiving, or going out and achieving things, going out and getting. And oftentimes there is this sense of, stereotyping somebody as putting themselves as above, when they're lighter skinned, or putting like, you don't speak to anybody, will be types of ways like you are placing yourself, like you're too reserved. Even being quiet, being shy can be turned into negative things. But then these negative stereotypes that people will place on a woman like Cheyenne Bryant, they do then to other people inspire the rescuer instinct, this idea of, she is being unfairly attacked. Because I do think in the Black community, we do normalize attacking or ganging up on a lighter skinned person, a person that we see as being biracial, a person that we see as being non-Black, having admixture, having a more favorable phenotype in the eyes of like colorism and featureism and, pretty privilege and whatnot. It is very normalized to gang up on the pretty girl, to jump the pretty girl, to be violent towards the that person, to insult them, to basically, even same thing with, lighter skinned men, but my channel is for women. So this idea of needing help, or I do remember seeing this video where this woman who was, she was darker skinned, she was like offended that the man that she was with, basically had a rescuer instinct towards a lighter skinned woman when they were all like socializing together with other men and stuff. It was like, oh, let's go out to the fire escape or something. But her man speaking up and saying like, oh, because in the presence of this lighter skinned woman that's not typically a part of their hangout or whatever, oh no, we can't bring her to that environment. This that is pedestalization, but also this instinct that some people do have to speak up for you, to feel that you are in need of support. To, some women have had experiences of, people come in and be like, do you need a bill paid? Can I take some weight off your shoulders? I want to get in where I can fit in. Can I take you out? Can I help you? Can I, pay for this? Is there anything that I can do for you? People do often have this rescuer instinct towards you, or maybe they see how you're being unfairly attacked, or they feel that people are making attacks against you that otherwise would not fly if you did not benefit from certain privileges. Like, it is kind of very normalized in the Black community to compare lighter skinned people to animals, or to call them unattractive, to say that they look like not alive, or to say, like, come up with nasty nicknames and stuff. Even in the sense of one of my last videos breaking down Doja Cat and Lotto's new video, where this girl was calling their dancing biracial body rolls. That's very much like, that being okay is more so, I think, prevalent in the Black community, where they specifically in that community, the flip would not be okay. So, if they're saying that somebody looks like a wet dog, or, somebody has struggle strands, or, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, what ramen noodle hair or whatever, all these different things, trying to compare something, like insulting your inherent unique features. Those are the same things that they would call racist, colorist, texturist, featurist, anti-Black and whatnot against somebody else, even if you're using the same trait, but a different expression of the trait. So you can talk about light skin, biracial, looser textured hair. Not saying that those things are always associated and go hand in hand, but I'm saying that people will say it's okay in the Black community to, say things like, oh, that's ramen noodle hair, but it will be seen as like fighting words to say nigga naps or struggle, whatever else you're saying, thick kunta kente, whatever, beady beads or something, if they don't like who it is saying it, because they will use those same types of words against each other. But if they are not happy with, how they feel in your presence and the inferiority complex that they feel towards you, you would not be seen as somebody who's down for the culture if you were to just defend yourself, if you were to just clap back, which with Cheyenne Bryant, I've not really seen her clap back. I think she's probably largely aware of this dynamic that exists. But, many people, with how she does speak, what seems to be positivity, a lot of people feel that her message and who she is misunderstood. She will be the type of person that inspires the rescuer instinct. And I think many people in general, they kind of clock this in a woman and can use this as a reason to overly scrutinize her, or to hate on her, or to fixate on her, or whatever, because of this. And this can be also what prompts some random man to pause his rapping career and say, you know what, I'm going to open an entire university today, and we're giving out 1 degree, and we're giving it to you. Like, that's the rescuer instinct. Another hypothesis I have for this would be, the halo effect being in play, or being at play. I feel like when someone is physically attractive, when they're charismatic, when they're very articulate, which she is, or socially influential, observers may unconsciously assume that they possess other positive qualities or deserve the benefit of the doubt. I think it's so interesting that, like, I don't know, with Cam Newton and his team and everything, that's the halo effect. Why did they not know that she was, like, not a doctor? Is that what people were saying? She's not a doctor. Like, how did she end up on 2 podcasts? How did she end up going viral like 2 times before people clocked that? People were just giving her the benefit of the doubt because of the halo effect. which I think is so funny. But another hypothesis I have is like just basic like charisma and the narrative. People don't only respond to looks, and I believe I've spoken about this in another video, but like I think that people, they want somebody to champion. They want somebody who has some sort of narrative, some sort of personal brand, some sort of story. I've even seen other people make videos talking about, I think, what do they say? Resilience, privilege. People can be jealous of all of these things. And so when people experience, Cheyenne Bryant, they are often responding to her confidence, her storytelling, the level of conviction with which she speaks, her emotional expression, and the feeling that someone else has a mission. Like, there are many people who are invested in her mission. She definitely seems to have the mission of trying to educate, uplift, and break generational curses in the Black community. That seems to be what her mission is. Her mission seems to be to inspire young women and whatnot. She seems to want to inspire growth, because she talks a lot about this framework of high versus low functioning, wanting to have people gain an awareness of their patterns and where they are not functioning in a more productive way, a more desired way, where they may not even be aware of it, call attention to it, and then, be higher functioning, be more productive, be more abundant, be more fruitful, whatever that is for you. Many people are responding to that when they see her. And I think that could be part of what can inspire some random man to say, I'm opening a university today, which I don't know that he only opened it for her. That's just what the male, interviewers of this guy that I'm going to use names. This is what the Dr. Jamal Bryant, is he also a Bryant? Jamal Bryant? Who that guy and the Torrey Roberts were seeming to, they both seemed to be saying that to the man, the president of the university, or they seem to be trying to ask him any questions about that. I guess those two guys that I keep referencing have a podcast or something, or a show together, and then they both seem to have their own separate thing. So it seems like they have been like kind of bouncing off of each other's content. Like, I think one of them was reacting to the other one. I think Torrey was reacting to Jamal Bryant interviewing the president of this university, this unambiguous man who, I hate to sound ridiculous, but I have no idea what this man's name is. But another thing that can make that man open the university, which they're basically trying to imply that, he only opened it to give her a degree, which may be true, but it could also be parasocial influence. If someone has already built trust with a large audience like she has, supporters may become personally invested in defending them. And that is something that happens where this can be in a good or in a bad way, where I will say many people, when it comes to building their platform and their personal brand, it depends on what type of archetype you want to be perceived as with your audience, how you want them to feel when they come to your content, when they hear your voice. I'm thinking about Jackie Aina specifically being like, I don't want you to, I don't want to relate to you in the sense of you being my internet nieces and me being your internet auntie. Some people, when they make their content, they're like, I'm specifically trying to come like, your mother. I'm specifically trying to come like your big sis. I'm specifically trying to come like, I'm thinking of this one guy that's like, things that your dad didn't teach you or whatever. Like, I'm specifically trying to give that. There are, I watch people who, they're cooking or whatever, and they're specifically trying to give like your nonna, like, or your grandma, like if you're Italian or whatever. Like, many people, they're trying to make their audience feel something. They want them to feel like they're a part of a community. They do want them to feel less alone. They do want to maybe come across as relatable. They do want to build some sort of trust, because many people want to be able to trust their audience as well. Like, if I give you this vulnerability, are you going to weaponize it against me or whatever? If I tell you my insecurity, are you going to then like insult me on that next? But because of this, people do often have these parasocial relationships, or maybe a overinflated sense of intimacy with somebody, which is like, if it's true that this man created an entire university for her, that's parasocial influence, because it's not like you're her man investing into her. It's more so just you're a supporter, you've been watching her content. But whether it's him understanding that they don't maybe have the level of intimacy that people are maybe assuming, like when you first hear the story, you may think that they are like friends or they're colleagues or they know each other or something. And then you find out that they don't actually know each other, I don't believe have ever spoken or anything. Or if they have spoken, it has been them speaking specifically about like, hi, I'm such and such. I, with my university, have presented you this degree. And so, oh, sorry, that's my keys. I'm going to move those. But I also think that this whole thing ties into archetypes, like feminine archetypes in the first place, because I don't even think that Cheyenne Bryant gives damsel in distress archetype or like energy. And even me in my own journey, I think sometimes just because somebody gives like rescuer energy towards you, or coming to your aid energy towards you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're coming to your aid specifically because you're weak and defenseless and you are a damsel in distress. It may be closer to like what you might think of as like a protected woman archetype. Like, she appears to be valuable. She appears like she's worth investing in. She inspires people to advocate for her, and other people may feel compelled to open doors to defend her, to create opportunities for her, to like literally trying to open a door for her, because he literally didn't give her another honorary. I don't know why I feel so tongue-tied today, so I'm going to try that again. This man, the president of the university, didn't just try to give her another honorary doctorate degree. I believe that she already has 2 of those, but he tried to give her, or what he has essentially given her is an earned doctorate degree, basically saying that from what he has seen in her interviews, what he has seen, all of those things have basically said that, I don't feel like she needs to do the coursework, or I feel like she already has done it in some other way. And for my university, which it is a religious university, and it is not accredited in the same traditional manner of like regional accreditation, like systems. It is more so like, I think there's a religious exemption for them to be accredited. So I don't even know if his university has to answer to anybody, even on the distinction of it being an earned doctorate versus an honorary doctorate. But regardless, this man does see her as somebody worth protecting, somebody worth going out on a limb for, risking your own reputation and whatnot in order to defend her, in order to try to open a door for her. And, sometimes beauty can contribute that to her. Like, you would have to be like out of your mind to not say that she's not gorgeous. Sometimes status does. Sometimes your charisma can be the thing that inspires this in people. But oftentimes for many women, it is this combination. And many people are trying to run with this narrative that this man is just trying to throw away his career because she's pretty. But I don't really think that we know that. But I think it's more so like, if the reports about the degree process are accurate. So if all of the things people have come out and said against Cheyenne Bryant, all of the critiques, the accusations, if all of the things people are saying are true, if all of that is accurate, then what's really psychologically interesting to me is not just the degree itself, but it's understanding why somebody would choose to take that kind of immense reputational risk for another person. And when it comes to something like this, that is what many women may desire when it comes to social climbing. This can be what people are maybe jealous of when it comes to your social climbing journey, because many people, all of these different hypotheses that I came up with, other people, when they're first coming across you, will apply these stereotypes, these assumptions, these hypotheses onto you, that life is easier for you. Like, oh, people see you and their rescuer instinct kicks in. People see you and you have the halo effect going on for you. So they will already unconsciously assume that you possess more positive traits that you may not even possess based on your other positive traits. Wow, you have a lot of charisma, and you have this narrative that people will invest in and believe in and whatnot. And oh, you have this parasocial influence. And parasocial influence, I think, can get as great as like the mega super celebrities that are always getting like chased down and hunted and everything. And even to the sense of people feeling like you outrank them in, you know, whatever the hierarchy is that is very prominent to them. So it could be that you outrank them in how they see beauty. Maybe they feel like there's a skin tone hierarchy and they feel like you outrank them there. Maybe some people feel like there's an ethnic hierarchy and they feel like you outrank them there. Some people feel like there's a beauty hierarchy. They feel like you outrank them there. Some people, it may be, I think a self-respect hierarchy, maybe, I think between women is often something that people, like even other women, are concerned with. That could be an insult, like I respect myself more than you don't respect yourself as much as me. So it can be people feeling like that against her. But I think this entire thing is so very fascinating, and I wanted to cover this because I did talk about her before and just kind of pose the question, like, what do you think it is about Cheyenne Bryant that inspires this random stranger to take the great reputational risk of creating an entire university and presenting her a doctorate degree without ever knowing her? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, worldies, eyes on the prize.